After a crap ton of failed projects, box office bombs, and just plain unfortunate casting events, I really felt that Marvel was incapable or unwilling to put a story that the fans wanted to see. Was I right or wrong about Fantastic Four's first steps? Let's find out. After an unreleased Fantastic Four project in 1994 that was mostly made to retain the rights of the franchise, a mediocre 2005 debut of the Fantastic Family, a Silver Surfer sequel that had much to be desired, and a 2015 Josh Trank dumpster fire that treated the four superheroes like a baby treats a diaper, Marvel Studios decided to take on the project that was harder to solve than figuring out what creature died on Sri Thanador's head. At the helm was Matt Shankman of WandaVision, Game of Thrones, and It's Always Sunny. His pedigree was dodgy, and his bosses seemed to be making the same mistakes that they have been making on every project since Endgame. After being cautiously cautious about the film for over a year, from the casting of Pedro Pascal that has burnt out moviegoers more thoroughly than the Macarena, to the sex swapping of our beloved Norrin Radd as Galactus's shimmery cosmic hood ornament, to a slightly above mid Julia Gardner that did some great work in Ozark but has slightly been forgettable in everything else. I'm looking at you, Wolfman. Then the rumor mills began to churn out some damning headlines about the neutered Johnny Storm and Marvel's signature girl bossery, so I went in with lower expectations than a Hannah Gadsby comedy tour. Yeah, I really wanted to hate this movie after all the news and past Marvel experiences. First, for the negatives, and I'm glad to report there aren't many at all. If I was very picky, and I try to be, I would say that Sue Storm was a bit OP, but much of that could be explained. And that's all. That's all the bad. Vanessa Kirby did a brilliant job portraying her as a loving wife, mother, and capable woman that was respected and never heavy-handed or made it her mission in life to belittle men, which has become the trope of Marvel for about 7 years now. Okay, that wasn't much negative, and no, I'm not shilling for Marvel, so let's get to the story. It flowed well. It didn't get caught up in introducing too many characters without motivation, arcs, or depth. I'm looking at you, James Gunn. At the heart of the film, literally, was the family.
I don't have friends. I got family.
No, not that kind of family. The film was set in a 60s alternate Earth, so the group was quite traditional and honestly portrayed the best characteristics of American life in that period. They had dinner together, they had a great dynamic, and more chemistry than Walter White. The late 50s through 60s aesthetic was refreshing and transported us to the optimism of the era of space exploration. Costume design was on point, and it showcased a world that was a cross between the Jetsons and Mad Men. As for the characters, Pedro Pascal as Richard Reed displayed agency and a subtle leadership. He was more of a father figure and partner to Sue than the commander of a SEAL team. He was burdened with the genius of an Elon Musk or Einstein. He could be awkward and less political than he wanted to be at times, but he pulled it off well. Johnny Storm, played by Joseph Quinn, was fun, rambunctious, and sometimes a bit of a recluse, or a typical test pilot. He was a good brother to Sue and a good sparring partner to Ben Grimm, played by Moss-Bachrach. Speaking of the Thing, this is the best iteration of the stony stoic. Watching Tim Story's version, I almost felt embarrassed for him, although Michael Chiklis did the Rocky Behemoth proud and voiced him brilliantly. As mentioned before, Sue Storm was the most perfect casting ever for the Invisible Girl. She was feminine, smart, loving, a great partner to Reed, and a great mother to Franklin. Go figure, in this age of the so-called modern audiences, that you would get characters that are devoted to each other and genuinely give off that love vibe, putting the Lois and Superman relationship to shame. I won't say too much about the quote-unquote Silver Surfer, except to say she was competent, gave a great performance, and made sense since it was an alternate universe. But she did have a strange backstory, and the same motivations that Norrin Radd had for becoming Silver Surfer were absent, and that didn't work as well. Still, casting Garner was a gamble, because if this film doesn't work, they don't get to introduce Silver Surfer in all his Norrin Radd glory, and that would be the shame of shames.
Shame. Shame.
Lastly, Galactus was glorious, ominous, and downright biblical. Ralph Ineson is undeniably the planet eater from beyond. He had a techno-organic look that was somewhat reminiscent of an H.R. Geiger aesthetic, and he oozed apocalyptic terror. I'm trying not to do spoilers here so far as the story goes, but I will say the pacing was tight, the over-the-top, silly sophomoric Taika Waititi humor was missing, thank God, and all of the heroes had great lines and backstories. It wasn't an origin story, and that proves that you can do a first entry in a series without an origin story and make it work. Instead of telling us a story like James Gunn did, we get a montage of how the four became fantastic. It has good word of mouth right now, and audiences are really loving what they're seeing. If this was released 7 years ago, I'm sure it would have made over $1 billion. But in 2025, when so many of the fans are disillusioned with Marvel, I don't think we're gonna get that high. In fact, I think it'll squeak to about 600 million or so, and that's not bad. I'm giving it 4 reels, and that's mostly because I didn't like the fact that they introduced Shalabal as a Silver Surfer first. She has a place, but it's not introducing the character. I'm not sure if it saved Marvel, because it'll be just like them to snatch defeat out of the mouth of victory. Well, let me know if you loved it, hated it, or if you think this sets up Doomsday well. And as always, keep watching movies.